Hello, my JILBOTIcs people. Welcome to the first class. I am Olunlade Joshua, and today we are going to be taking you through how you can blink your LED. Now, what does it mean to blink your LED? You see, that bulb thing, that LED, you are going to make it to come on for a second and then off for the next, on for a second and then off for the next, like that, in a loop forever. So today we are going to be taking the main functions that you will use and other things. Let's see. The functions we'll be using today: the void setup function, the void loop function, the pinMode function, the digitalWrite function, and the delay function. By now, I hope that you understand what functions are from your knowledge of C++. If you have not yet gotten to what functions are and what they do, let me just briefly explain. You see, functions make things easier. Like for instance, instead of you writing a lot of code to tell the Arduino to set up your Arduino, they've already created a function, void setup, that initializes everything that you'll be needing at the beginning of the code. So inside your void setup function, you will put things. See here now, the void setup function is in this way. Inside the void setup function, you will put your code that initialize whatever you'll be doing for that project. So you will see it as we go on how to use the void setup function. So the void setup function is written like this, with this bracket and then the brace, the open brace and the closed braces. So inside the open brace and the closed brace, you put all your code that you want to run once when the Arduino is powered on. So in Arduino, the way we write code is that firstly we will set up our Arduino by putting all the code that we want to run once into our void setup function. Then the next thing is to use our void loop function, which runs over and over and over again. Let's see. The void loop function. The void loop function also looks like the void setup function. And inside the void loop function, we have our code that runs over and over and over again forever. So what this means is that when you tell an LED to switch on for a second, wait for a to switch on and then wait for a second, then to switch off and then wait for a second, and then you end your program there in the void loop function. What it does is that it will keep repeating, it will keep repeating, it will keep repeating that process. And it's actually good. That is how we build our electronics. The void setup function initializes everything we need, and then the void loop functions runs over and over and over again forever. The next function we'll be discussing is the pinMode function. And the pinMode function, we usually use it inside the void setup function, and we use it to set the mode of a pin. You can see that it takes two parameters. The things that are inside um the round brackets separated by comma, they are called parameters. So pin is a parameter and then the mode is another parameter. And the pin can be any of the digital or analog pins you have on your Arduino Uno. So the pin mode function is used to set the pin. Maybe you are taking pin 11 for instance now. So pin 11 on your Arduino Uno, you can set it with the pin mode as either input or output. You will see something like this. Pin mode into bracket my LED comma output. You can see that output is in all caps. All caps. And what happens here? You may be expecting me to type in 11 or 12 or 13 or 1 or 2 or 3, but I have typed in my LED. The reason is because I am saying that maybe my LED has been assigned to one of those pins. You will see how we will do that in this series, but in later parts of this video. Or you can use it to also set your pin mode as input. Note that input and output are in capital letter. Input and output, they are in all caps. Note that if you put it in small letter, it will not work. You will get an error. It is in all caps. Then we use the digitalWrite function. And what the digitalWrite function does is that it is used to set the state of an output pin. Now we have set our LED pin as output. What we want to do now is to switch it on. So digitalWrite function tells it to either go on or off. Just take it like that. But what we do is that in Arduino, what you call on and off, in Arduino we call it high and low. So on is high and low is off. Take it like that. On is high and low is off. So you could set the state as either high or low. For example, digitalWrite my LED, high. So if we have set my LED, for instance, now to pin 13, and we have initialized it with pinMode as an output, so we can now use the digitalWrite function to set the state of my LED pin to high, which will turn on the LED if you have connected it properly. Or we can use digitalWrite to set the state to low. Note that high and low are in all caps. Note that high and low are in all caps. They are in capital letter. That is it. It must be in capital letter. Then the delay function. I said earlier that we are going to be turning on our LED for a second and then turning it off for another second. The only thing that can help us to do this, or one of the ways that we can do this using Arduino, the simplest way we can do this using Arduino, is by using the delay function. And the delay function, you can see that it takes in one parameter, which is the value parameter. Now the delay function takes in the value, and you will see how that is used. So it makes a program to wait. What it does is that, like for instance, let me say in my void loop, what we will do is that in the void loop function, we are going to firstly use the digitalWrite function. Just imagine it with me. I know it may be difficult for now, but just picture it with me. We are going to use the digitalWrite function to firstly set my LED pin as high. So to turn it on, we are going to use digitalWrite function to turn my LED pin on. Then we will now use the delay function to make it to wait for a second. After that, we will now turn it off with the digitalWrite function, and then use the delay function to make it wait for another second. That is what we'll be doing with the programming. So the value of the delay is an integer, and it is in milliseconds. What does this mean? For example, delay into bracket 1000, and this makes it wait for 1 second, not 1000 seconds, 1 second, because that value inside the delay bracket is in milliseconds, where 1000 milliseconds is equal to 1 second. So if you want it to wait for 2 seconds, you will make it 2000. Now, how to program the Arduino to switch an LED on or off. Firstly, we will declare a variable and assign it the number of the corresponding pin, like this. So int my LED is equal to 13, and by now I expect that you know what int is. It is a data type, so we are creating a variable of the integer data type, which is named my LED, and we are now assigning it to 13, or we are assigning 13 to that variable. And what does this mean? See, this 13 simply means the digital pin. So this 13 stands for the digital pin 13. Anytime you are working with variables for the digital pins like this is how we assign it. We just write the pin number 13 or 11 or 12 or 10 or 0. For analog pins, we write A0 or A1. You see it is written on your Arduino: A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5 for the Arduino Uno. The next thing is to initialize the pin by setting the pin mode in void setup, something like this. So we have pin mode into bracket my LED, output. So we are setting my LED as an output. So you see that anywhere the compiler, anywhere it sees my LED, it will replace it with a 13. So that will tell the compiler or the Arduino that you are setting pin 13 as an output. You get, but it is easier to do it this way. Then the next thing is to set the state of the pin with digitalWrite. So pin mode, let me make this clear. Pin mode function, we are going to use it inside our void setup. Then digitalWrite function, we are going to use it inside our void loop function. Just to be clear. Okay. Now we are using this digitalWrite function to set the state of our pin of my LED. We are using it to set the state of my LED to high, or we could also use it to set the state of my LED to low. The things that you will need for this are your LED, your 220 ohms resistor to bring down the LED like as a current limiting resistor. Then you need an Arduino Uno, you need a breadboard, connection diagram. This is how we'll be connecting the LED to your Arduino. So basically we are connecting one leg, or the cathode of the LED, we are connecting it to ground. You can see that it is connected to ground. And then we are connecting the other lead of the LED, which is the anode. We are connecting it to one side of the resistor, and then the other side of the resistor goes to pin 13, which is the pin that we'll be manipulating. I hope that it is clear. If you have any questions at all, you can feel free to ask the instructors on the JILBOTIcs platform. Thank you for watching this video. In the next video, we will do the programming and how you can use your Arduino to control the LED, and in the video after that I will show you the demonstration of what we've done. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.